If I could make just one dish for a mushroom skeptic, it would definitely be this creamy umami noodle soup. Let me explain. The reason a lot of people don't like mushrooms has nothing to do with the taste. It's all about the texture, which can sometimes be soggy or slimy. And that is the beauty of this recipe. The mushrooms get cooked down until they're super crispy, then paired with bouncy udon noodles and creamy broth for a meal that will convert even the most stubborn mushroom skeptic. You can use really any kind of mushroom in this recipe, though I do think it's best to use a couple different varieties. Start by wiping off any visible dirt on the mushrooms with a paper towel. And for chubby varieties like a shiitake or cremini, you want to slice them pretty thinly so you end up with the best possible texture. Now, if you want the crispiest texture, I recommend seeking out oyster mushrooms. For oyster mushrooms, or really any kind of soft mushrooms, you don't have to slice them like this. You can tear them apart with your fingers. It's really fun, and they get super crispy in the oven. The thinner you tear them, the crispier they will get, but keep an eye on them because the thin ones do burn quickly. As you go through this process of tearing and slicing mushrooms, you will probably end up with a fair amount of mushroom scraps. I like to add mine to a large bag like this, and I pop it in the freezer and wait until I have enough mushrooms to make a batch of homemade mushroom broth. Now grab a rimmed sheet pan and brush it with oil so the mushrooms don't stick. Drizzle some more oil on the mushrooms, about 2 tablespoons for a heaping pound of mushrooms, and any neutral flavored oil or even olive oil works fine here. And season well with some salt. Then just toss to combine. I lied, you're actually gonna grab 2 sheet pans, because if you just put all the mushrooms on one pan, they won't crisp up as much and the mushroom skeptics will not be impressed. Into the oven they go at 425 degrees Fahrenheit or 220 Celsius. After 15 minutes, you can already see how much they've cooked down and are really starting to transform. Give them a toss and then back into the oven they go for about 10 minutes or until they are beautifully browned and delightfully crispy. While the mushrooms roast, we can use this time to cook our noodles. I personally love this soup so much with fresh udon noodles like this. They are bouncy and chewy yet tender. You can find them at East Asian grocery stores. But if you don't have them, don't worry, you can use lots of different fresh or dried noodles. I've got some options in the blog post that accompanies this video. Just don't use anything that's too thin because it won't hold up to the creaminess of the broth. Another reason I adore fresh udon noodles is that they need just 2 minutes to cook, so keep an eye on them. And grab a chopstick. You can use that to separate the bundles while they're cooking. Once the noodles are cooked through, drain them in a colander and drizzle with just a little bit of toasted sesame oil. That way they don't stick together and you get a little extra flavor. Next, we'll turn to the broth, which is loosely inspired by Japanese miso ramen. And for a really flavorful broth, you need some high-impact aromatics. We'll start by chopping 6 garlic cloves, and the garlic does not need to be pretty, so I'm just gonna smash down on the cloves with my knife to make it easier to remove the peel. The garlic is gonna go into a blender later on, so it doesn't need to be a fine chop either. For the ginger, I don't always peel my ginger as you might know, but I want a smooth consistency to our broth, so I am gonna take the time to peel it today. Ginger is tougher than garlic, so I do finely chop it just to make sure there are no chunks in the soup later on. You can start by slicing the ginger into long spears, then cutting those into skinny matchsticks, and from there it's pretty easy to give it a fine chop. We've also got a bunch of scallions. Make sure to rinse them under cool water because they can be kind of dirty. Then slice the white and green parts into fairly small pieces, and we'll also thinly slice the dark green tops and save them for our garnish. Finally, some spicy Thai chili peppers. These are already pretty small, so just go ahead and slice them thinly. For me, 3 to 4 of these Thai chilies is the perfect amount of heat. Spicy, but not overpowering. But you should tailor this to your spice level. So if you want a little bit of heat, but not a lot, you could do half of a serrano pepper or half of a jalapeno pepper. And if you've got baby mouth, just omit the peppers entirely. It'll still be delicious. Heat up a frying pan over medium heat. If you've got a stainless steel pan like this, you can tell when it's ready by adding a droplet of water. If it beads up, you are good to go and your food should not stick. Add in a tablespoon of oil, and once it's shimmering, drop in those aromatics. These need about 3 to 4 minutes, and make sure to stir frequently so nothing burns. If you end up with a lot of browned bits on the bottom of the pan, you can deglaze with a splash of water. All right, grab a blender and do your best to transfer the aromatics without spilling. And now it's just time to add the rest of the ingredients. I'm adding a generous 2 tablespoons of tamari or soy sauce and 2 tablespoons of white miso. These are going to give the broth a super savory backbone. We'll also add in a tablespoon of rice vinegar. It is slightly sweet and acidic, and it's going to be a nice contrast to all of the savory ingredients. And a 1/4 teaspoon of white pepper, which I adore. Since this is a soup with mushrooms, I like to use mushroom broth, at least when I can find it, because it makes the soup even more savory. Or if you have something like a vegan chicken broth base or vegan chicken bouillon, you can use that as well. Our last 2 ingredients here are soy milk and roasted sesame seeds. These 2 are going to make the broth incredibly creamy, which is going to pair so well with those bouncy noodles and crispy mushrooms. There is so much good flavor in here, and now all we need to do is blend it up. Once the broth is smooth and creamy, give it a taste, see if it needs any flavor adjustments. It should be quite savory and salty, wow, but if it needs an extra boost, go ahead and add a dash more of soy sauce. Pour the broth back into the saucepan we used for the noodles earlier and gradually bring it to a simmer over medium-low heat. Make sure to whisk it frequently and do not increase the heat because it will bubble over on you. It's gonna get pretty thick from the soy milk and the sesame seeds, so add a couple splashes of mushroom broth if needed to get it to your ideal consistency. All of our delicious components are ready, so it is time to serve our soup. Now would be a good time to turn off this video if you don't want to end up really, really hungry. Get some noodles in your serving bowl and pour that hot, creamy broth on top. Add a healthy portion of those crispy mushrooms, plus the reserved scallion greens. And if you like things spicy like I do, some sliced fresh chilies or chili crisp, or both. This is honestly one of the best things I have ever made. I don't say that lightly. It is so savory. It is an umami lover's dream. The crispy mushrooms are such a nice contrast with the creamy broth and the chewy noodles. I cannot get enough of it. So if you want to make it at home, get the printable recipe linked below. And if you want even more soup recipes, I've got a short playlist here. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.